I didn't want to get some of that personal stuff out of the way first. That's all.
No, that's great. I like that. Yeah, good idea.
In case I have to use this again. So obviously you see my desktop, right?
I do.
So I'll start you I'm going to kind of go high level here. And if you see something you want to drill down on, just let me know. But, if today was a brand new project you can start, you're going to give it a name, whatever that could possibly be, okay?
Sure.
In your case, it's going to be going right to current. And then you have in here, if you want, you can kind of track different job types. So you could have, rehabilitation, remodeling, addition, whatever you want, but you can kind of at least track it as history over time. You go, hey, we did a job like that. We did a complete remodel on something like that. Let's go back and look at our history. So you'll be able to sort it by job type. So I was going to stick something in here real quick.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Client, this other information not going to really make a lot of difference to you. Some project dates that you can track, when you started it, when you finished it. The permits on file. So these are all user defined, so I can change them around. But again, since you're kind of doing your own stuff, it's a little different. But once that job is set up, then a couple of things we're going to do is, one, we're going to go into here. And then as your project manager, I assume is going to be working with the subcontractors to take prices and what have you.
Right.
Yeah. So this is what I call my generic general contract. So it's going to look something like this. Your project manager, whoever's going to be, is going to go out, and he may identify that he has sawing on this job. So he's going to go out and get 3 different sawing prices. On this, wants to get 3 different prices from concrete subs, quotes. At that point, he's just logging that information, and just like he would into Excel, these are the prices I was quoted. These are the vendors that quoted me this price. I have a column here kind of called estimator notes, okay? And so I can put notes in here for this specific vendor. And then I can also have, let me get my mouse working here, a column of the scope of work, so I can have that, and I can print that later onto a subcontract. So as he's putting the bid together and taking prices, this is where he's going to do that, or she's going to do that. And once this job is decided, you're going to go forward and you have your prices. The nice part is, once I export this, now I have the budget in my accounting system, okay? I can actually print the subcontracts, so I don't have to type them up and send them out. I can actually print them and type them. And if you're buying materials, I can actually create purchase orders within the system. So once the data in here is correct and clean, then I get to use it a bunch more. I use it as a budget. I use it for a proposal, which you're not. Purchase orders and subcontracts without having to rekey anything else going forward. So that's where the time savings is.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay.
All right. So if they're doing it today, they're probably doing it in Excel, and I bet you their Excel spreadsheet kind of looks similar to this, because I've seen a bunch of them.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah, we have a budget template, in Excel that looks similar to this.
And the fact is that by just doing it here, we have the ability to push that data out 3 different places, which is just going to save you time.
Yeah, that's cool.
So now the job's set up. We printed the subcontracts. We sent them out. They come back for signatures. Same thing with purchase orders. But just like you mentioned before, in accounts payable, I'm just going to pull up a vendor real quick here. As we set up our vendors, there's a tab. Pull one up that's already set up. There's a little button down here, very bottom right-hand corner, that says certificates, and this is where we're going to log in. I don't have it pulled down. General liability, auto, workers' comp, maybe a business license, contractor's license. You decide what you want to track, but they're all tracked in here. We can say, yes, we got them. This is the date that I got them. This is the date that they expire. Yes, I want a warning, and this one is more important. Yes, I want to stop pay. So if I go to write checks, quote unquote, for you, it would just say, hey, these 3 vendors should get a check, but they've been excluded from the check writing process because their insurance has expired. So that actually will not even allow you to print the check.
Got it.
To me, the only time you have their attention is when you have their money, right? And so you could set that up as a warning and not have a stop pay. I think about 100% of our clients have the hard stop, because that's the last place that you can screw up is if you issue the check and give it out by mistake, then you don't have any really recourse. So,
correct.
But all that can be tracked in here. We have form letters in here. If a project were to go over, their expiration date, there's form letters that you can email out that says, hey, Joe, these 3 policies have expiration date of next month. Please, provide the office copies of your new insurance. And so the rest can all be automated. Okay. So now we've got the guy. He's set up. He's out there working. 2 things. mentioned committed cost, and we'll look at that real quick. Let's pull the job up real quick here. This is probably very similar to what you're thinking. So one job by cost code, right, item of work, the budget plus approved change orders. Just so I'm clear, when we say budget, we mean cost, and when we say proposal, we mean sales price. That's kind of our terminology. Budget always is equivalent to cost.
Okay.
This is the cost that's been booked to date on these items. These are subcontracts that have been written but have not been invoiced yet, or portions have not been invoiced yet. And then if you were to do purchase orders, these are purchase orders that have been written and have not been invoiced by the vendors yet. So here's all your outstanding commitments in these two columns, okay?
Right, okay.
And so in real time, if somebody was, we'll pick Sue because I have a lady's name here, if Sue were to go process an invoice against this subcontract for $500, if you were to rerun this report, then you would see $500 more in the cost, and you'd see $600 remaining. So as soon as that invoice is entered, these numbers get updated. And so it's always in real time.
Okay.
And I'm not going to do this and bore you, but if I double click that, I can find out who that sub is. This one here, if I'm the project manager, go, God, how did I spend $4,400 on that item? He could double click that. He would actually see the invoices that were entered. Okay?
Okay.
That doesn't ring a bell. If he goes to the source, you allow him, he will get right back to the AP entry screen. And if you chose to, and I think you guys are going to do this, chose to scan in the received invoice that he approved, or receiving document, and scanned it and attached it here, he could see the invoice, and he could also see who signed for it, all in one place.
Great.
That's all part of the core system.
Okay.
There's no add-on for that. We were talking about the paperless. That is just done within the nation. So at that point, we've got the committed cost report, but the one that project managers really like is this one here, and it's called the subcontract audit. Since you're dealing with some of the subs, it is a report that kind of walks you from day one to today. So one job, one subcontractor, those are the 3 line items that we had on his original contract. So we had a subcontract for $2,900. Since then, we've approved and he signed 2 change orders. So now his contract value has increased to $5,250. If he had pending change orders, they were listed here. And then on the next page, what he's invoiced to date is 2 invoices. And then more importantly, is it in outstanding or has it been racked paid? In this case, it's still sitting in AP.
Right. That's cool. Okay.
Okay. And to me, as a controller, I used to have to do all that by hand because, and I would get a call from a sub going, hey, how come I didn't get paid $1,800? And I'd say, well, I had to go around to like 3 places to figure it out. But now I could just say, hey, because you haven't sent the change order back, because it'd be sitting down here. Or it's an AP and it's going out in the next check run. But I wouldn't have to go running around asking project managers. I'd have that information at my fingertips here.
Right.
Again, I'm not if I can't remember this change order, as I can just double click it, it'll take me right back any place I see the plus sign. It'll take me back to. So that's the subcontracting system ability to kind of track the progress against that. I'm going to get to one other cost report in a second, but so if I go do vendor payments here, this is the way I think you're going to do it. I'm just going to do a couple here because I think this is going to streamline what you're doing. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to go pick out some vendors, okay? And then I'm going to pay. Again, here's that warning. These 2 guys should be getting the check, but expired certificates, so they're not even in the AP process. So let's select some of these guys. So at this point, I'm just going to pay this one vendor up here. I'm just going to save this. So now I selected the vendors I want to pay this week. And when I go to pay the vendors, this is kind of the cool part. I've had a couple of this. I'm going to select this guy right. I have the ability to pay by what we call voucher, okay? I'm just going to pay this real quick. You'll see what happens here. Voucher. And yes, we'll just preview this. And I'm going to give it a, this is a balance sheet account here. It's my voucher clearing account. Starting check number 4, preview vouchers. So you'll see here, file voucher form, and so what you're going to get is something that looks like this. It's a payment voucher. And this is what you can send over to the parent company, so to speak, or the real accounting department. They would know who to pay, what project it's for, what invoice we're regarding, right? There's the invoice number, the amount, the date it's due, and the balance that we want to pay.
Okay.
So that could be right into AP to a WIP, either into, probably in your case, a WIP account, because you're, grabbing all that. But at this point, the check is now going to be written out of the real accounting system. But as far as Sage 100 is concerned, is we've paid this by reducing the payment voucher. It's decreased the open payables in Sage 100 and just created this due to account, right? The voucher clearing account's the other side of the entry.
Right.
And you guys write the check, and everything's good. So we know exactly what's happening. And then that subcontract audit report's up to date, all your costs is up to date, and then your aging, if you were to run an aging, you would see that if you owed money to vendors or not, because you're actually clearing them out as you go through this payment voucher process.
Okay, that's cool. So one thing, that makes perfect sense. One thing that me or Teresa may not have mentioned to you, I don't recall, is that we do have a fair amount of payments by a credit card too. Is there a way to distinguish in the voucher whether we're cutting a check or doing credit card payment?
So I checked with the consultant, but so when we actually go, before I leave that, that's a good question. So you see right here, this little button says print lien waivers, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So if I click that and I come up here, I want lien waiver 2, and these are the latest California versions. They're about 3 years old, maybe, that they changed.
Right.
We actually produced that.
All right.
Produced that document too.
Great. Okay.
All in the kind of in the same process. So in here, we have we call a credit card management feature, and so you would enter the credit card, right? So I have American Express number 10, right? I'd be applying expenses against and buying stuff against that credit card all month. So I'm accumulating that stuff in real time and then just doing a reconciliation when the actual bill comes out in case, I'm really bad, by the way. I didn't turn in all my little tickets, right, from lunches or whatever.
Right.
I do a little reconciliation so that it balances back to the credit card statement. And then I do a pay credit card, and I'm not sure if I know the answer to your question. Card issued, cash account. I guess I could run it against that voucher clearing account. I might have to create a form for that. I'll check with the consultant on that, but we may be able to do what you want.
Okay. Yeah, it'd be great to. So what we will end up doing is we will end up processing everything through, as we're calling it, our legacy accounting system. And in that system, we will either be doing a direct check payment to the vendor subcontractor or making a payment to the credit card company. It would be nice if Sage could distinguish which one it was. Obviously, in either case, we're going to make the literal payment out of the legacy accounting system, which is why your voucher, element here is terrific, because it, allows us to reflect the payment in Sage, even though the payment is being made external. Right. But yeah, if you could look at that, if there's a way to do a distinguishment with voucher as to whether it was check or credit card, and ideally we could reference, just to make it a little more complicated and confusing, we probably will have, at least 2 or 3 different credit cards that we're using. So it'd be great to separate whether it's check or credit card, and in addition to that, it'd be great if we could separate by which credit card number.
Yeah, that's fine. So you're right here in this credit card management, edit credit. Like I had,
yeah, you can add cards. Yeah.
Okay. I used to have 3 American Expresses until Costco took them away from me here because they don't use it anymore. But we have them all set up, because now I got some other card they gave me. But yeah, we had separate accounts for each one of those.
Okay, cool. All right.
Just pick one of them.
Okay.
But the part that I like, again, because I think I told you my background is controller, CFO for a long, long time, is the fact is as I'm entering those credit card receipts, it's actually job costing that. And if you think about it in the real world, you don't get your credit card statement until the 6th or 7th of the month, right? For the previous month. You're like a month behind on booking those expenses, where as I'm entering those tickets, I'm actually expensing it to the job, and it's showing up in job cost, even though I haven't paid the bill yet or I haven't even seen the statement yet.
Correct.
To me, that's a big deal.
It is, because we always want to be on top of, commitments and, where we're at with our spending. So I agree.
Go through, well, let me go do one of the cool things here. So let's just pick some line item, right? Let's just say it's painting, right, as an example, right? You have an item for painting, and your budget was $10,000, okay? We have this system in here, and you can use it for a lot of things, Greg. It's called an alerts manager. So the one that most people always use is, and this first check mark here. So if I had a budget of $10,000, the day that that item has $1 over $10,000 expense to it for one reason or the other, it's going to send an email out to somebody, and you determine if that's the project manager or you or a combination. But anything time a budget for Costco goes over, somebody's going to get an email. Okay.
Cool.
These are standard ones, and I wrote a whole bunch of different ones. So and you may not get into RFIs, but if you did, you know, RFI was due yesterday, but it's not back yet, so I'm going to get an email alert.
Yeah, that's good.
A lot of times, and then you're not going to care about this, but you know, I set up a vendor because I have to pay him, but I don't have the 1099. He's going to email the hell out of me till I get that done. You know, vendors and certificates, I get an email every Monday of which ones are expiring this week, so I'm on top of it. Punch list items that haven't been completed that should have been. POs over the limit. So let's just say that in your case, you let your project managers write POs over 5,000 or under 5,000. Over that needs another approval. It'll send you a list every morning of every PO over 10,000 to make sure that you knew about it. Okay.
Right.
So these are ones you can write yourself, and there's a lot of other things you can do. Again, you're dealing with yourself, but if we're change orders that are hanging out there, it's going to warn you that nothing's been done to them, etc. But you can write these yourself, and to me, it just makes it easier because I'm not waiting for a cost report 2 weeks from now. I know tomorrow that something went wrong yesterday.
Right. Okay.
It's a lot easier to get on top of things if you know what's going on. So you set up the job, you got subcontracts, you got purchase orders, you got change orders. I don't know if you have the guys fill out what's happened on a daily basis, what we call daily field reports, but let me just pull one up. These are really useful. So if you had your own employees, you know, who was there, what they were doing, right?
Okay.
Subcontractors, these are the subs that were there yesterday, how long they were there, and how many people they had. So if somebody wants to see who's out there and what's going on, they have that. And so the nice part is, you know, the project manager, if he's not here, he could look at this report the next day and say, hey, yeah, this plumbing guy was supposed to have a crew out here, but he only showed up with one guy, right? And so you can make a phone call and what have you. So a lot of things you can do in here. You know, if you want them, they can actually keep notes of what they did yesterday. They can attach pictures if they want to. But that it's kind of like what I call the old diary, where guys carried around a big diary and wrote everything that happened. We just kind of made it where it's an electronic format now.
Okay.
All right. So let me look through here. So
can I ask one question?
Yeah, you can ask as many as you like.
So I think I think most of my questions have been answered already. And the system looks very good. What we're looking for. One issue we have is in tracking what we just call phase elements of the job. So you know, the actual construction phase is the largest one, but sometimes we like to capture some other elements. So, you know, I think what we call one element is just operations, and we're just trying to track essentially with operations is, you know, capitalization versus expensing. So we'd like to be able to have, you know, the budget distinguished by, you know, phase type. So we'll have, you know, operations, we'll have, you know, hard construction, and we'll also have pre-opening, you know, so what we do are hotels. So when we are doing a ground-up hotel construction, you know, once construction is essentially complete, we still have, you know, 3 or 4 months while we're, you know, prepping, you know, the space for completion. You know, so that will include, you know, some hard asset, you know, acquisitions, you know, like just raw furniture type of stuff that we're putting in, and you know, tracking different expenses that go into the pre-opening element, and we're setting up computer systems and things of that nature. So is there a way to break out some of those phasing elements in Sage?
Yeah. So we could do that a couple ways. We could do it through the cost code structure potentially. But I just pulled up a job. It doesn't make any difference. It's a roofing job. But down here there's a button called phases.
Okay.
So you could have phases to the job. So if I was coding an invoice, in your case, it was hard construction, it would be job 18, and then phase number 13 happens to be hard construction, and then phase 14 could be the opening, 4 could be what are the operations or whatever. But so you could track cost in those separate buckets, so to speak.
Right. So if I have the separate phases, I'm just wondering about integration to my legacy system. So I'm going to have, kind of an automatic integration point through AP because I prefer to use my legacy AP system.
Right.
But is there going to be some easy reporting means? So like the vouchers, for example, can I see on the vouchers what phase this was attached to? Because I will have, different GL codes for my different phases, like you were saying, and you were correct. Most of it will just be WIP, but I will have a couple different ones as well.
Hang on one second. Let's just go in here real quick. We should be able to put on that form.
The phase info that we predefine in the system.
So
okay.
In here under the project, or under the invoice, we may be able to put the phase number in here, or we could put the job number and phase number up here, because each one's going to be. There'd be no reason for an invoice to go to 2 different places potentially. We could put the phase number so they have that phase. I don't see any reason we couldn't add that to the payment voucher.
Okay. Yeah, I think those would just be the 2 things we would be looking for is how do we get the phase on the payment voucher, and if the payment voucher can distinguish between credit card and direct vendor check payment.
Right. We can figure out, and all I got to do when I'm done here, I just called Jim up. He's probably a consultant that's going to work with you, and I'll just have him verify all that, and then I'll get back to you.
Okay, that would be cool. And then my understanding as well is, this is a hosted system.
It can be hosted. That's what I'm on right now. So I am hosted right in the situation we are right now. I am signed on to company we use is Swissnet, and they basically host everything for us.
Okay.
So no matter where I am, no matter what device I have in my hand, I can get signed in with my username and password.
Right. And, we don't have to worry about, having server space for all these documents and all that kind of stuff.
And you guys and especially for you guys that are out on the job site, right? That are out there.
Right. Correct.
They're going to have access as long as they got some kind of tablet.
Right. Correct. Yeah, so I'd definitely be interested in the hosted system.
I
think I got a cost number for that. So that's
I'll send you the information about Swissnet, and then they have a little Excel spreadsheet, and basically you can price out the proposal yourself. There's three levels. There's basic, standard, and premium or something. We recommend standard. That's probably 99 out of 100 clients just go standard. That's what we use.
Okay.
The nice part with that is you've got more disk storage, you get more applications out there, and you get the full Office 365, Word, Outlook, Excel, PowerPoint, the whole suite. So everybody will have access to that as well.
Okay. Okay, that sounds good. Yeah, well, I'll be interested in going through the pricing information a little bit more. I have some of the pricing information, but I'd like to go through that with you in more detail, but we can do that at another time.
Yeah, and so let me just before you say go. So the software is available in what I call two flavors. You can buy it outright, write a check, whatever, and you own it, right, forever. Or they have a subscription-based, monthly subscription where you basically just pay for the month by the month. And like I always tell people, it's kind of like that cable TV box that you have. You never own it. You just keep paying your $19 a month or whatever. We can do it that way too. So it just depends on how you guys want to do it.
Yeah, if we did the subscription base, do you guys do periodic upgrades?
Yeah. So the nice part about being on the subscription is you're always on the most current version.
Right, you just upgrade it, as you have new releases or whatever. Okay.
Yep. And we just had our major release here in May, and so the next one would be in October.
Yeah, you do twice a year or sometimes more?
Twice a year on what we call major, right?
Right. Okay.
And then there's always one in December for tax updates, which is not a big deal for you, and then minor updates. But typically that's it. There's usually only 3 times that you have to upgrade.
Okay. And then all this was Sage 100, correct? Not 300?
Right, 100.
Okay, got it. Okay. And
which is about a third the price of 300.
Yeah, well, that sounds good to me. And this has all the functionality we're looking for. So I'm sure 300 is a great system, but what we're doing right now, I think this will work fine. So Sage has been in business for a long time, that I can recall. Can you tell me a little bit?
So the history of this product, so yeah, Sage has been around forever, and they're publicly traded, huge company. This is just one of the softwares they have, but the history of this product was about 1980-81. A company out of Sebastopol called Omware. It was a product the guy developed. It was owned by him until 2001. It was bought by Intuit. At that point, Intuit owned it from 2001 to 2006, and then Sage bought it from Intuit in 2006, and Sage has owned it up to today, and I don't see that changing.
And so, you've got a pretty deep customer base?
Yeah, so personally, we deal with 1,500, our company, we're a reseller obviously, we deal with 1,800 companies, 1,500 of those are on Sage 100. I've got a team of 21 consultants on the Sage 100 side and about 8 on the Sage 300 side. So
gotcha.
We've been around, and so we got a good depth. The nice part is, you'll be dealing with Jim, and Jim happens to be out of pocket. You can call customer care here, and they'll find somebody if it's a crisis type thing. Find another consultant to answer the question. But typically, we call back within a couple hours.
And if we ever did need to have more sophisticated elementation and feature functionality, how difficult would it be to migrate our data from 100 to 300?
It's going to be time consuming, but I'm trying. I got a couple companies that I can think of off the top of my head. Hal Hayes, big general contractor in Southern California. It's HALHAYS.com. They're in the $100 to $120 million neighborhood. They've got 20 users on the system all the time. And so unless you're going to get to that point, I don't think you'd ever need anything other than this.
Okay. All right. Cool.
I mean, seriously, it's not. You have big numbers, but very few transactions, right? You might only have on a project 20 or 30 transactions a month, right? We've got clients out there.
Right.
We have a couple of specialty subcontractors that do a lot were doing a lot in the residential when it was booming. They were doing 10,000 to 15,000 individual projects per year with 500 employees, and they were using this. And so,
right. Yeah. Gotcha. Okay.
You're not going to have
cool.
All
right. Sounds good to me.
So I'm out of pocket, but I will be answering emails. I'm on vacation for a week or so, but I will be answering emails. So if there's something that comes up, just shoot me an email, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can.
Will do. And if you could send me this recorded session, later today when you have the file, that would be great.
And I'll send you the stuff on the hosting as well.
Yeah, I'd love to. I think I have the pricing, but if you could, resend the pricing information, just for convenience purpose, so I have it at the top of the email, that'd be great.
That's what I'll do.
Thank you.
I appreciate your time. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Dennis.